You've worked with Grant Cardone, you work with Frank Kern. Those are big names in the sales team. Like, what are the biggest lessons that you learned from your entrepreneur journey, but also applies just in life?
Nothing is going to stop me. And I'm willing to put everything on the line, if that makes sense. All the energy, all my focus, all my everything goes into this target. And that's what I did with business specifically at the expense of.
But you've built multiple businesses, right? Multiple businesses, raised a family, and found success in so many areas. Like, what's the one mindset shift or habit that's helped you manage success at work and at home?
Is I just decided to have.
How does a husband and a father of four, a serial entrepreneur, the founder of Gathering the Kings community, and a self-made millionaire by the age of 29 manage it all while pursuing an exceptional life? Stay tuned to hear how Chaz Wolfe makes this happen. Chaz, welcome to the show.
I appreciate the invite and just the honor of being here to add value to you and to your audience. Thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome, man. You truly are a husband of purpose. So, first question, we're gonna jump right in, so we don't waste your time nor the viewers' time. You've built multiple businesses, right? Multiple businesses, raised a family, and found success in so many areas. Like, what's the one mindset shift or habit that's helped you manage success at work and at home?
Yeah, it's such a great question because I hadn't figured that out very early on, and that's a big part of GTK, Gathering the Kings, and our community, and this this balance that people are after. First off, balance doesn't exist, right? What I have learned is that I was obsessed with my businesses, and go figure, look at my life. I've had success in my business. You have to be obsessed with something in order to have success. And so I was obsessed with my businesses, and I've gotten a certain level of success that it was equivalent to my obsession. What I hadn't done was obsess over my wife and my kids and my health and all the other, my faith, my lifestyle in the same manner. I was still, I felt like a pretty good husband. I felt like a pretty good dad. I still worked out a little bit. I wasn't like eating garbage all the time, but it was just lower down on the priority list. And so I didn't change my obsession about business. And that's what I think what most people try to do. In order to bring balance, they go, okay, well, maybe I won't be as obsessed with business. And I'll bring that back down to even keel or average, down to where all my other things are. And that doesn't fit me. That doesn't work with integrity for me because I'm a man of obsession. This is how God designed me. I'm like all in or all out. I'm not in between. And we can talk about that. And I can give you several examples in my life of how I'm all in or I'm all out. In business, I just hadn't chosen to yet be all in on the other stuff. And so that one caveat that you asked for, what changed for me to be able to manage it all is I just decided to have a work-life obsession, not a work-life balance. I was as obsessed with my business and now as obsessed with my family and with my wife and with my health and, all the things.
Now, how do you manage that? Because that's a lot of energy, that's a lot of responsibility to be obsessed with the business, the family, your health,
Yeah.
the children. How do you manage all that?
Well, I think managing is an interesting word around obsession. I believe that you are either created in this way or you're not. Um, and it doesn't mean that you can't learn to be obsessed. That's not what I mean. You can learn, you can grow in obsession. But for me, it's an identity thing. I guess is what I'm really saying. I know that God created me to be a builder. And so what I was kind of just describing was I was a builder of my businesses, but I hadn't yet taken on the identity of being a builder of my marriage or a builder of my children or a builder of my health. Like I was doing those things, but not really with obsession and excellence. And so how do I manage it? Well, I think what you're asking is how do I exude enough energy to be able to go all in all areas all of the time? And that's a choice because that's what I want. And so underneath the choice is what I kind of just said. It's what I want. It's my desire. It's the absolute thing that you have to have in order to have success really in any area, but let alone winning in all areas, as we call it, or living the exceptional life. You have to have this deep burning desire. Before, my burning desire was just to be successful. Now I wouldn't have said this out loud because I didn't necessarily know this. But looking back, I can articulate that my obsession, my burning desire was being successful in business and being financially successful. And I wanted the other things, but I didn't want the other things bad enough, right? I didn't want them at the same obsession level. And so that's probably the biggest difference, is that I just had to, stoke the coals of the fire of that burning desire so that I could raise my obsession with my wife, raise my obsession with my health. It's just a choice though. Like, I don't get up at, 4 something in the morning to make sure that I'm ready by 5 a.m. when my workout partner shows up to my house so we can work out together, because it's like, it feels good. I don't just wake up at 4 something on my own. The alarm still wakes me up. And I have to go like, ugh, I'm tired. Right. And I fight that a little bit for 3 or 4 minutes. And then I recognize it like, oh, I should probably get going. Otherwise Tony's going to be at my door knocking and it's not going to be unlocked yet. Right. And so I've put things in place in my life, like an accountability workout partner, like a community. So it pushes me, but it all stems from the desire. If the desire isn't there, then it's pushing a wet noodle. You know what I mean?
Brief interruption real quick. If you listen to this and you like what you're hearing, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below. Therefore, you're notified whenever we have another Men of Valor, Husbands of Purpose podcast. Also, you can share it out if you find this episode valuable. And fellas, if you're looking to have a deeper relationship with your wife, cultivate more conversations, more intimacy, download our free video guide. It's in the descriptions below, or you can just go to connectionconversations.com, download our free video guide, and start getting more intimate with your wife and just really build that bond, build that friendship, build that love. Go to connectionconversations.com, or you can just click the link in the description. Peace and blessings. Back to the episode. And speaking of like desire, we was talking about Napoleon Hill's book. You have to have a burning desire, to be able to achieve your goals, achieve your dreams, and to have a vision. So how did you, because the book Napoleon Hill talks about Think and Grow Rich. It talks about having one focus, burn desire. How do you take that energy that you have and then just like that desire and spread it out all these different ways?
Yeah.
And, you know, getting up at 4 a.m. So it's two questions in one. And getting up at 4 a.m. every day. That's a lot, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, you're right. Napoleon Hill talks, and the old language that he uses is you have to put everything back of a goal, meaning everything, you put everything behind that desire. Nothing is going to stop me. And I'm willing to put everything on the line, if that makes sense. All the energy, all my focus, all my everything goes into this target. And that's what I did with business specifically, at the expense of my wife feeling like a single mom some years, at the expense of my health, right? At the expense of whatever. And so I loved how you brought that up, because what we've done inside of Gathering the Kings is I've just elevated the target. It's not just have a big business that pays me millions of dollars. We're going to raise it up a target, or up a level. And then now the target is winning in all areas, or what we call living the exceptional life. And I'm going to put everything back of that goal. And so when I wake up, I'm not just obsessing over business. Yeah, I think about business all the time. I'm not just obsessing over being a good dad today and how I'm going to spend quality time with my kids and build them in these young years, so that they can be everything that God has designed them to be. I'm not just going to think about how beautiful my wife is and how I can support her. Um, I got to think about all of them, because if that's the target now, it's not just the business. The target is living the exceptional life. I'm going to be very intentional about how I spend my thought and how I spend my energy. And then it's got to be focused in those areas. I'm going to give you an example. I had a buddy reach out, and he was like, "Hey man, we should get together." My initial response back to him was, yes, his wife and my wife also know each other. I'm like, have your wife get with Julie, and the girls will get it scheduled. He's like, no, man, I'm talking about us. I'm like, that doesn't happen in my world. It's not that I don't want to hang out with you. It's not that I wouldn't want to have bro time. But when I look at my life, I've got it very clearly defined as what serves me. And I can't think of going and hanging out with him, and he'll want to probably, smoke a cigar and go to the casino, which neither of those things I do. And not that either one are bad necessarily. I just don't personally do them. And so for the sake of spending time with him, it's going to cost me what? Probably my energy the next morning because I'm going to be out too late. I'm going to be doing certain things, which is not a problem, but it doesn't serve me. What does serve me? Oh, okay, got it. Getting up early and working out, eating very specific things and eating on a schedule, spending time with my wife, spending time with my kids, spending time with my clients, adding value to other people in a specific way. Now, I could have put that in a category of adding value to him, but the question I'm always asking myself, does this serve me? And if you've clearly defined that burning desire, like we just got to talk about, it's super easy. Does it serve me? Yes or no? If it does, I go all in. If it doesn't, I don't even think about it. Cut. Next decision. Make sense?
Nah, makes sense. Makes sense. Now, how does someone, a husband, look, listening right now, how do they figure out like that burning desire, and which one first to focus on, or how do they focus on, how do they handle all of that?
Yeah. Well, I think no matter what area we're talking about, that when I talk about winning in all areas, we're talking about business and finance, marriage and family, health, faith, and lifestyle. Lifestyle are the things that bring us joy. It's not always the Lambo, is what I tell people. If you like a Lambo, then that's fine. I don't know if I'd fit in one, but what I'm trying to say to the listener is if that's all the areas, right? If I've defined basically all of life and it's in those five areas, I personally am going to sit down and spend concentrated time with a pen. I got my little Mont Blanc here and a notebook. And I'm going to ask myself, what do I want? What do I want in my marriage? Okay. Well, I want to have more sex. Okay. Why? Why do you want to have more sex? Okay. Well, because I like the way that it feels. Okay. But why? Why is it important that you have pleasure? Well, and specifically, why this pleasure with this person? Eventually I'm gonna why all the way down because really the why is that I want to have deep connection and intimacy with my wife. And for a man, that's a big part of how we express those things. Okay, fine. What is it going to take to be able to get that? Well, the feminine works a little different. Shocker, right? So how do we work inside the construct of this thing called marriage where I can truly lead her with the masculine to where she feels safe, secure, provided for, that she can relax, be totally in her feminine, which is probably going to produce more connection for her, which she wants me to lead and for us to talk and be emotionally connected. And then that's going to eventually lead to intimacy, physical intimacy, which is the connection that I'm looking for. But all those things can be reverse engineered, is my point. I can do the same thing in business. Well, what I want in business? Well, I want to hit $1 million this year. Or I want to hit $10 million this year. Okay, great. What does that look like for at the end of the year, 10 million? Okay, great. What do we have to hit by Q3, by Q2, by the end of Q1? Okay, great. In order for those markers to be hit, what do we need in the business that we don't have now? Okay, great. These are the indicators along the way. We got to hire this person. We got to, do this campaign. We got to get this amount of leads. Okay, great. In order for those things to happen, what do we got to do? And I'm going to break that all the way down into a weekly checklist of what has to happen this week in order for the indicators to happen in order to hit my targets and stay on track. You can do it for every single area.
So it's about a husband just taking a step back, taking an assessment of their whys, their desires or what they want and their whys, and then just taking
Yeah.
action and going for it and walking in their purpose. And I'm pretty sure that, becoming a millionaire by 29, you've worked with Grant Cardone, you work with Frank Kern. Those are big names in the sales team. Like, what are the biggest lessons that you learned from your entrepreneur journey, but also applies just in life?
I mean, we can just take the book Think and Grow Rich and just go chapter by chapter if you'd like to. But I mean, once you have the burning desire, you have to then create a plan. You have to be organized and have a plan. And that's kind of what you were just saying there is like, I got to be able to take my time. I got to take my pen. I got to put my thoughts on paper and I got to organize a plan. Then I need to take action. I'm going to need some persistence along the way. Persistence is I'm going to feel resistance and I'm going to be resilient, or I'm going to persist through the difficulty. Okay, the same year that I was 29 years old, became a millionaire. I had bought my seventh location of that franchise, and that was the beginning of 3 consecutive down years. I had just spent 4 years, and every single dollar that I owned, that was to my name, unto building this business portfolio. I had 7 locations of this franchise in 3 different states, 60, 70 employees, and I felt like I was on top of the world. I was one of the youngest, if not the youngest franchisee, definitely the youngest at the size that I was by far. Um, and for all intents and purposes, on the outside, it looked amazing. But then, literally, the next year, 2, 3 years were all consecutive down years for the franchise. You know what that did for me as an entrepreneur?
I felt it.
I was
I'm pretty. It
I was
hurt.
stressed.
It hurt a lot, right?
It
I'm
hurt a
pretty sure
lot.
your wife felt it too.
My wife felt it. Our marriage felt it. My kids felt it. Everybody felt it, right? I was working more and making less. But that's what we do as entrepreneurs, is we have to ebb and flow. And so, to answer your question, I was kind of getting to the persistence thing there, but the things along the way, never go to plan, but you always have to have a plan. How does that work? Well, I have to first sit down, put my thoughts together, put an organized plan together, but then I get around other people. We call it the mastermind, right? I get around other people in my community to be, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? Oh, hey, 2 months later, this isn't working. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And now I'm adjusting. Now I'm moving the plan. I'm trying something different, right? Because just when we think we got it all figured out, boom, a curveball, a COVID, or a new president, or a whatever happens. You know what I mean? Just things happen, and we should expect those things to happen. I can't control those things, but what I can control are the inputs. Every single day, the choices that I make, the disciplines that I have, um, the things that I'm choosing that serve me. And then when the things get hard, I persist.
And that's key right there. Speaking of the book of Think and Grow Rich, it seems like that's what we're talking about. We keep throwing this book up, but when I read it, I believe there was a section called the Law of Persistence. Like it's a section which is like a law of persistence. Like if you're going for something, achieving that big goal, that desire, you're going to fail at times. Like you said, you failed like 3 years, it was 3 years a spiral downhill. But when you're persistent, when you know that desire, when you know what you're doing it for, when you're living in your purpose, being a husband of purpose, you're going to fail. But the thing is, you got to be persistent, and persistent pays off. Persistent builds discipline.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, for the husbands that are listening, to apply this to, husbandry, if you will, like not every day is a scene from a movie, in your marriage. But with intentional inputs every day can be amazing. Um, okay, today something might happen that maybe causes some strain, but because we've communicated, and because I've, like you've said it a couple times, lived on purpose. Really, what that means to me is that I've been intentional. I sat down, I decided what my purpose was, or I defined what success looks like. What does success look like in my marriage? What does success look like as a husband, or as a dad, or as a business owner, whatever? Okay, I've defined it. I've written it down. I read it to myself every single day, and then I'm taking action on those things. For example, for the last probably close to 2 years, every single morning, with a few exceptions, but almost darn near every single morning at 5 a.m., my wife gets a text message. She's sleeping, like long sleeping, not doesn't wake up for a couple more hours, and she gets a text message from me that is descriptive of how I'm appreciative of her from something that happened the day before. Every single day I do this. Now, this wasn't my idea. I went through, I was working with a coach around kind of visualizing success in all areas. And he helped me kind of work through a couple things in all areas, but specifically, the one thing in my marriage that I felt like I could be more intentional about was showing Julie appreciation. And guess what, dude? I'm telling you right now, I would think a logic, man logic is like, and I've told her, she knows it. It says in my visualization every morning that I give two affirming words a day, one in the morning, one in the evening. I literally read that out loud every single day. It's part of my affirmation, part of my visualization. She knows it's in there. I've read it to her. She knows that it pops up on my phone at 5 a.m. as a reminder. But guess what? She enjoys it every single day because I'm being intentional. I'm not just like, hey, I love you. It's like, no, I sat, I thought about it for 60 seconds. What happened yesterday? What did I appreciate? I send her a message, quick, sometimes longer than others, but she wakes up. That's the first thing that she reads and puts a smile on her face. And guess what that's turned into down the road? Success in our marriage, like in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
No, I love that idea. And you know, for husbands that's listening, you know, that was a jewel right there. You know, and if you're not married, that's a jewel right there. That's a gem
Hold
right
on to
there.
it.
You know,
Yeah.
program your phone to do those automatic text messages. You know, giving her, affirming her, thanking her for something. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, 16 years of marriage. What can you say is what was the hardest year you think?
Hmm. I don't know if I've ever been asked that question. That's a good question.
I know you haven't. That's why I asked it. Or the hardest
Yeah.
trial.
For the listener right now, you should stop what you're doing. You should go to wherever this podcast you're listening. You should give a 5-star review. That right there is a good host, one that does some research and finds things that has never been asked before. I love that. Okay. I would probably say, I don't know if I can nail one year, but what I would say is, okay, maybe there was a year. There was a year where, so I had 7 locations of the business. I had actually gone back to work also full time. I was a sales manager at a big advertising company. I had done that beforehand, kind of created the systems, felt like I could handle both, went back to work in the midst of still working, did four, number 5, 6, and 7. And so that was the year I was working. I built 2 brand new locations in 2 different states, and then in a third state, bought one. We also had our second child that year and moved that year. Like so many things going on. And probably the hardest part, just like that comes to me, it wasn't because literally here's my schedule. I woke up at 4 and I would work because I was literally building 2 new franchise locations, like permits, construction, while still managing 4 active, and then acquiring one. I'm in Kansas City. I was acquiring one in Florida, and so new states, new regulations, like all the things, right? And I had to do construction, remodeling in that one when I bought it, and so there's permits and stuff even for that one. And so from like 4 to 6, I was working on paperwork, business loan paperwork. I mean, you name it. I just was engulfed in paperwork. And then from 6 until 6 p.m., I was working my sales management job. I'd go to the office, manage a sales team, come back home. I would eat dinner, put down my kids for about 45 minutes, and I would go right back to work from 7 until about midnight. And I no joke, 9 weeks straight of that exact schedule, no deviation, every day of the week for 9 weeks straight. And I was exhausted. But honestly, that wasn't when I think back, that wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was now learning what I know now is that especially when we had our second child, that she's shared with me, now looking back that she felt alone. She felt like a single mom. And it was like, oh, I mean, I grew up with a single mom. Like I actually know what that is. I know what it's like to be in that house. And I was actually offended when she first told me that. Like, how dare you? What are you talking about? I'm a good father. I provide. You don't have to do all these things that my mom had to do. What are you talking about? And when I put down my guard and I actually listened to her, it was me not being around. I mean, okay, sure, I paid the bills, but that was it, right? I was obsessed with the business, with my job, all the things I was doing. And even though I was still putting down the kids every night for 45 minutes, she felt she felt completely abandoned for multiple years there. That one year specifically probably was the hardest. And so if I could go back, all it really took, it wasn't the number of hours that I was working. That was the problem. It was the intentionality of affirming her, supporting her along, even throughout the day or throughout the pregnancy of our second child, um, supporting her after the baby was born. Like I just was in my lane. I let her be in her lane, and then that was it. We were just distant in that regard. And all I had to do was just very, very small, minute, intentional things. Sit down once a week, give her 60 minutes, and just, how did I show up for you this week? What can I do better? Right? Just that one question alone. How did I show up for you this week? Good. How can I show up for you differently this next week that would be helpful to you? That right there. Just sit down. That didn't even take 60 minutes, but spend 30, 60 minutes together once a week doing that. And then just the little things that I could have done that to affirm her, like a text message, or popping in a little bit differently. Not necessarily more time. That's what most men think, is that, well, I spent all this time at work, and in order to be as obsessed, I have to spend the same amount of time in my marriage or family or health, and that's not true. It's not true at all. In fact, for guys like us, I'm always going to probably spend the majority of my time working, because that's who I'm made to be. I'm made to build. If the time that I'm spending with my wife or with my kids or with my health is intentional, it's leveraged. It's like I'm squeezing everything I can out of that moment because I'm present. I'm intentional. I've thought about how I want to show up. I can clock in and clock out real fast if we're going to use that language, and go back to, in this case, building new businesses or paperwork or whatever else I needed. But I could have just been intentional for a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, and it would have changed the game forever for her that year, for sure.
Now it's like, just having that extreme focus when you have that time with your wife and you have that time with the children. Like you're saying, like, for business owners, you may not be a business owner, a man of purpose. It could be a bishop, it could be a pastor, or someone
Right.
running the church, or just someone that's just have a career, a successful career. But it's not about that what they say, the quantity of time. It's not about that. And this
Right.
is not about the quality time. It's about the quality that you're giving that time. So a lot
Right.
of people say spend quality time, quality time. You can spend quality time, but you can just be in passing, doing nothing, but actually giving your all in that time, whether that's 5 to 10 minutes, whether that's an hour, just being truly just locked in. And when we work with, we do marriage coaching. So when we work with our clients, we have them, have certain focused conversations about different areas so they can get their alignment together, and they have
Yeah.
the opportunity to build that naked trust, to open up to each other, to continue to connect, have a true connection. Well, a lot of people
Yeah.
have this connect, but it's not a true deep connection. And it sounds that like what you and your wife have built, what y'all went through, y'all now have that true
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you call that a naked truth, or naked
Naked
connection? What'd you
trust.
truth or naked
Naked
connection?
trust.
What'd you just call that?
Yeah, so what me and my wife we call it naked trust because, a lot of people think about trust as like my spouse won't cheat on you, my spouse won't cheat on
Right.
me, anything like that. But we say naked trust like to just be open, vulnerable, comfortable with each other, just sharing those intimate details about each other and really building that true connection so you can have that purposeful partnership. And that purposeful partnership may be, the husband and wife in the same business, or that personal partnership may be like the wife is at home doing her wife be at home, but she's supporting the husband, or vice versa. The wife may be at work building,
Yep.
and the husband is just supporting her. But having that purposeful partnership, being truly locked in, it sounds that's what you and your wife have.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen all those dynamics that you just shared inside of our community. Ladies that are in their own business, ladies that are in the business with their husband, and then of course, ladies that are at home. Julie, she's involved with a little bit in our real estate, but mostly is a homemaker, and that's her lane. Everything that has to do with the house, the property, the kids, the homeschooling, all of that. She handles that, and she handles it like a boss. But regardless of it, it's just defined lanes. It's good communication, um, and that naked trust. I love that language because first off, it's catchy, and people like the word naked. But the the honest truth there is that, like, okay, so if we talk about being naked, like, actually for a minute, there's a lot of shame, a lot of interesting things that we think about our body. Whether we don't want people to see us or we do, it's a lot of that has to do with how we were brought up, and our experiences with other lovers or whatever. And so, you know, um, for two humans to actually physically be naked is the most vulnerable, right? Because I don't have anything to protect myself. I don't have anything to, like I don't have a weapon. I don't have anything to cover. Like, when you think of just what vulnerability and trust, like the core of those definitions, physically being naked is like extremely high on the like, "Whoa," like, but when I think about what that means for Julie and I, not just physically being naked, but also in that moment, like appreciating each other. There's there's no part of my body she doesn't know, and mine and me for her. But in a holy way, in a way of like we've been able to experience each other, and of course physically, but I mean experienced our lives together naked, to your point, because we're open, we share, hey, I'm needing this, or I'm needing this. Not to stay on the lane of sexual intimacy, but since we're kind of on it, we find that a lot of couples just don't talk about it, and I don't know why. They don't talk about it between themselves. They don't talk about what one likes or doesn't like, and there's a lot of times in when and we don't do quote unquote marriage coaching, but marriage and family is a big part of our community. And there's times where I just ask him or her, have y'all talked about it? And it's like, no. Well, how can you be vulnerable? How like these are some of the things that we're talking about. Share. It's not the stories. It's not like telling Julie that this happened to me as a kid. Yeah, those tell those things too. But you know, some of it just has to do with what happened today. How did I think? How did I feel? What can you do to support me? Can I ask clearly for what I need? Do I even know what I need? And then being able to articulate to her so that she can fulfill that physically or not. But being able to articulate that, especially then for her to be able to articulate back to me what she needs, again, physically or not. And for us to be able to be open and vulnerable in those ways, I think is just incredibly powerful to be able to to get to that level of trust that you're talking about. Because we talk about that trust, but then it's a little bit like, what does that mean? To live in purpose or to have trust. Like, okay, like what does it actually mean though? But it's like, rubber to the road is like today, when I go downstairs, my wife's going to meet me in peace. She's had a crazy day. I've had a crazy day, potentially, who knows? But she's going to meet me in peace. We have an agreement. I'm going to come down the stairs from my office and studio, and she's going to come down. We're probably going to hug. I'm going to give her a big old smooch, and we're just going to be for a couple seconds. And maybe we don't talk necessarily in detail about what happened in that moment because there's 4 kids running around, but we're going to get them fed, and I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to spend my time with them, and she's going to go do her Bible time, and we're going to follow our schedules like we always do. And then later tonight, if we need to reconvene about something specific, hey, I had a hard day because, and hey, I need some support in this way, we'll do that. And we know how to be able to do that. That's what building trust looks like on a day to day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it sounds like your day's something like mine. Once I get done with this, I'm gonna go get my wife, some smooch because I haven't seen her all day until I came in the house for like, 10 minutes, 10, 20 minutes and everything. But was, moving and everything, getting
Yeah.
prepared for the interview. And, she homeschools the children as well, helps run the business. So it's like the same dynamics. And tonight we're having our Bible study. Once the children in bed, we're having our Bible study time. But that's about, being intentional. I said that to be intentional, so therefore we try to be intentional about our business, but we got to be intentional about those relationships that we have with our spouses, that we have with our children, and just in relationships that we build, becoming entrepreneurs and everything like that. And I'm going to segue into speaking of relationships and, building on that. Let's talk about gathering the kings, man. I'm excited about this. We're going to talk about the Gathering the Kings community, and it's for entrepreneurs with everything you have going on, right? Multi-millionaire companies and everything, you know, wife, children, multiple businesses. What made you say, I'm going to start the Gathering the Kings community, a place where entrepreneurs can thrive, build community, and help one another?
Yeah. Well, it's because I didn't find it. That's often how things like this start. I mean, I've been a part of a lot of groups and coaching programs and stuff and gotten a ton of value. But going back to Think and Grow Rich, in chapter 10, he breaks down the mastermind principle. The mastermind is defined by two or more working in harmony unto achieving something definite. And so what I didn't have was a group of people that I could be in harmony with unto living this exceptional life. You know, I've been a part of some groups for different topics and stuff, but no real group that I was like running and doing life with. And so I just was like, I'll just start it. I'll just create it. And that's obviously evolved over time. But as you know, down to earth, family oriented, growth minded entrepreneurs like we are, there's so much isolation, one, that we have to because I can tell you right now, you look around you, there's probably not a lot of people like you around you. And as an entrepreneur listening right now, you're probably like, ooh, yeah, you're probably right. Like, I can look this way, I can look that way, I can look that way, I can look behind. And maybe you've got a buddy or two, maybe. But then it's like, do they understand what I'm going through? Is it the business types of decisions that they can understand? For a guy to even have a buddy or two, let alone another entrepreneur buddy who's also family oriented, who also wants to win in all areas, like it just doesn't exist. Um, you know, for me as an entrepreneur, I had buddies at church, but if they don't have a business, then they don't understand the types of decisions I'm making. The types of decisions that we make as entrepreneurs, or even leaders, like you described, leaders in an organization or leaders in a church, the decisions that we make affect other people, and that's weighty, that's heavy. You know, like, am I going to make payroll this Friday, or do I hire or fire this person, or if we roll out this product that's going to have some sort of impact on our community. Those things like truly affect other people's lives. And if you just sit for just a half second and realize that there's probably not a lot of people making those types of decisions around you. And so then you add the element of, okay, well, now I also want to win in all areas. I want to be in the best shape, and I want to have the best marriage, and I want to be the best dad, and I want to, all these things we've just got to talking about. There's zero chance you have, maybe one, maybe. And I would just bet a lot of money that you probably don't. And
And
that's
you're
okay
right.
because that's why
You're right.
GTK exists. And so that's truly what we are. I say Gathering the Kings. It's an action title. I'm in the process of still, and I will always be until the day that I die. This is the work God created me for. I will gather kings and queens, but I will gather the kings until the day I'm no longer able to, because I think it's important that down to earth, family oriented, growth minded entrepreneurs have a place to come, and we can sit at the table. We can talk about things in business, things in marriage, things in family, things in health. Um, we want to win in all areas. We want to be at the highest level possible in all things. Great. I want to get those people sitting at the same table, because then it doesn't have to be the Chaz show, right? Like, I bring a lot of value, man. I try to bring value everywhere I go, but I don't want it to be the Chaz show. It's not Chaz's group, Chaz's mastermind, Chaz's table. And I never wanted it to be like that, and it never will be that, because I wanted to bring people to the table that also brought as much or maybe even more value than me. And depending upon what you're looking for, I try to bring people that have all kinds of experience to the table. That way we can learn from each other. That's what the mastermind principle is. Thank you, Napoleon Hill, chapter 10 of Think and Grow Rich. It's like, hello. This is what we've been talking about. That's what Henry Ford created. That's what all these big names that he talks about in that book that created inside of their own business. You know, why can't we do it amongst ourselves, and be able to win in all areas?
That makes sense. And, when I've heard of a mastermind before, I've been part of a couple of them, but when I read that chapter, it really explained to me. I really, really, truly got the concept then. It's like you have this powerful brain that everyone's come together, this other brain, everyone comes together and shares information, gives new information, and be able to support each other. Now, how does someone join or get information for Gathering the Kings community?
Yeah, they can go to gatheringthekings.com, take a look at there. There's an application there. Is it a curated community? So that means that every single person is put through a vetting process. And it doesn't mean that well, there's certain indicators that we're looking for, right? Down to earth, family oriented, growth minded. I say those things kind of flippantly, but that's exactly who we're looking for. And what I have found is that those three things together are rather rare. And so we've had business owners that want to join that do 100x any revenue I've ever done. They could have paid for, a lifetime membership in one stroke of a check. And I was like, yeah, it's probably not going to be a good fit. Because to me, that wouldn't be harmony. If we're not in it for living the exceptional life, which we've defined as winning in all areas. And so, if what we've talked about here today on the show, winning in all areas, and you're just trying to figure out how to be able to do all that, be able to not necessarily balance, but how to be obsessed in all of these areas, that's what we're constantly trying to do inside of our community. Of course, we've got Zooms, we've got weekly, quarterly, or even monthly stuff. We've got a couple of events every single year. We do a family event, like all kinds of fun stuff that we're facilitating that space so that entrepreneurs can help each other. But we're winning in all areas, man. We're living the exceptional life, and there's no ands if or buts about it.
And speaking of family, you went in all areas family. I'm excited about your family mastermind that's coming up June 2025. Let's
Yeah,
talk
man.
about that. What can people expect? I'm seeing the video clips. It looks amazing.
Yeah, dude. We're going to Punta Cana, which is in the Dominican Republic. We've been in the past, we've been to Cancun, we've been to Bermuda, all kinds of fun places. Um, and we'll continue to gallivant all over beautiful places with sandy beaches. But yeah, in the summertime we take 1 week out and we go hard on family. We go hard on marriage, and there's always business stuff that comes up in the midst of that. But we facilitate business space inside the community all the time, and we do other events and stuff. And so this really is a family event. And so entrepreneurs, spouses, kids, everybody's there. Of course, we do a meetup for the gents, a meetup for the ladies. We do a couple workshops for the kids, and that we have the teenagers work together in challenges throughout the week. All entrepreneurship stuff. We're talking how to add value, how to create, um, a business plan and a marketing strategy, and all kinds of fun stuff to get kids thinking about how to be an entrepreneur, even as a kid. And then, of course, for the adults, while we're there, we're bringing in certified marriage coaches, and there's just, in my opinion, no better time and place than on a family vacation. You're in a beautiful place with your honey, and take just a couple of hours each day to just really look at the marriage and to work on it like intentionally. Um, I I have never had anybody come to that type of experience and been like, this wasn't helpful. It's quite the opposite, actually. It's usually like, wow, I had no idea this would be that impactful. I had no idea that we were going to go to the depths that we did in our marriage. I had no idea that my kids were going to meet other amazing entrepreneur kids like they did. It was just, such an incredible experience. So that's coming up. They can find that on our website as well, gatheringthekings.com/ family mastermind, or gtkfamilymastermind.com. Either one of those will get you to the right place.
And where can people find all your information? I know you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook. Where can they find more about
Yeah.
Chaz Wolfe at?
Yeah.
Serial entrepreneur.
Yeah. Instagram at GTK Family Mastermind. On Facebook, Chaz Wolfe. We're on LinkedIn, TikTok. We're on all of them. I'm probably personally, I'm active on Facebook, and so if you want to try to connect with me there, you'll probably actually connect with me. All the other platforms are probably somebody on my team, but the opportunity. I try to be genuine and try to connect with as many people as I can, and we just try to add value. And if that means a membership, cool. If it doesn't, cool. We're looking for harmony and good relationships.
All right, that's what's up right there. When I say husband of purpose, what does that mean to Chaz Wolfe?
Mm. Um, a husband of purpose is a man who has taken responsibility for every area of his life, specifically one that is associated to his bride, since we've said a husband on purpose. Everything that has to do with my marriage, I'm taking responsibility for. That's what the masculine does. We take responsibility. And I'm going to create and intentionally build an environment to where Julie, my wife, can be everything that God created her to be. And so that way, together, we can then be who we're supposed to be. But that first starts with me taking responsibility, doing things very intentionally, or as you say, on purpose.
Great, great. I like your outlook on that. And for any men that's listening right now, you may be going through trials with your wife. You may be going through trials or situation with your finances and business, or just personal life. even with your health. And he's saying like take responsibility. Yes, take responsibility. It's okay to sit with that for a moment. But in the words of Chaz's hashtag is grateful, not done. So we're gonna say be grateful for where you're at, but know that you're not done. God has a calling on your life, but you have to figure out what that burning desire is, what your purpose is in life, and go for it. Hashtag grateful, not done. That's Chaz's thing right there.
Yeah, so good, man. You did a great job with describing that too. It really is a powerful place when you can be in the moment now, grateful
uh,
for the things that have been good, the bad, the ugly, all the ups and downs. And to just give you a little context there, and then we'll end. I know you're trying to end that off, but I'll give you just a little more color for the listener. I created that because I'm an elk hunter. I like to hunt elk in the West. We'll go out into the wilderness, 40-pound pack, go out for 10, 11 days and hunt elk. And they're the most elusive animal in the Northeast or in the Northwest. Um, this is huge animal that just disappears. It's incredible. And you can be chasing elk, and I can be, 50, 30, 100 yards. I can hear them, but I can't see them. And then they're just gone. And I've been chasing elk before up the side of a mountain. We got to where we thought that they were, completely exhausted, and realized that they weren't there anymore. And we had to keep going. But we needed to sit down and just take a break because we had been hauling up the hill, up the mountain. And so we sit down, take the packs off, and the view is so beautiful. We don't have what we came for yet, right? We haven't gotten to where they are. We haven't called one in. We haven't been able to take a shot yet. But that view, that moment is like nothing else. The stars at night or the view of the mountain wherever we're looking down from. Catch our breath, take a drink of water, and back up the hill we go. Grateful for that moment, grateful for the view, grateful for the smells, all the things, but the job's not done yet. Let's get it done.
wow, that's beautiful right there. Last question. If you could leave any husband or father, with one powerful takeaway to improve their relationship, whether it's life, family, business, leadership, you pick, what would it be?
I'm leaving them with a phrase or with an area to start in.
It's up to you.
Mm. I'm going to leave you with this, listener. Uh, I said to take responsibility, but that stems from a choice, a decision. And so you've got to decisions are identity based, and so you first have to decide who you are, and then what type of decisions that person makes. And so, are you the type of person that has lack? Are you the type of the person that has a strained marriage? Are you the type of person? I don't know. So I would define your identity. Who are you? Maybe whose are you? Why are you here? What do you want? And then from that, start making decisions. What serves that identity? And if it doesn't serve it, don't do it. If it does, go all in.
That was great, Chaz. Thanks a lot, Chaz Wolfe. We're gonna link all your where people can find you in the description notes. Chaz, thank you for coming on, taking time away, from your family and your busy day. We appreciate you. This has been another edition of the Men of Valor, Husbands of Purpose podcast, where we are empowering husbands to lead in life, love, faith, family, and purpose. And together we lead. Peace and blessings.